I'm Tarot Oracle, and this is a Hellenistic astrology reading for LS. You've seen LS on the channel before, done a couple of tarot readings. I wanted to get some Hellenistic type astrology readings into the channel. The more of these I do, the better. So let's get started. So the first thing that we notice is the relationships column. The relationship column has quite a few challenges in it. So the first thing you'll notice in the relationship section is we have the malefic, contrary to the sect, sitting here right dead center in the love relationships column, the 7th house. But we also have the excellent, well, not so excellent, we have the benefic, primary to the sect, up here. And since this is a night chart, then that's going to mean a lot of good things. So we have this mixture of good and bad up here in the relationships column, as well as it's sort of a cardinal sign. So that sort of means that it's hard to get your happy ending per se, right? And as far as relationships goes, long-term relationships, it's hard to get that perfect relationship. Everything is right, everything that you want, you have it, and the happy ever after. And the happy ever after is constantly going to be bombarded by the malefic, contrary to the sect, in this particular spot, especially this 7th house. So what makes it even worse, I guess, in here, as far as being unlucky in long-term relationships, is that Saturn is actually comfortable in its own domicile. So we have quite a few things to be bad inside of the other people's relationships or love relationships, or other people's relationships over here. But love, as far as love relationships concerned, we have quite a few things that are not the best. However, again, you're going to have a mixed bag because you do have the benefic sitting right here, and since we're in a night chart, then that's going to be the good and bad combination. I think what makes it even weirder is just how close they are. We're within 6 degrees, so this is really sort of polluting this particular sign quite a bit in here. Now we do have a benefic over here, and the benefic could being enhance it, but this benefic is not, is contrary to the sect again. This is a nighttime chart. This is not going to be super good, something amazing, but again, we just have that good and bad as far as love relationships are concerned. And again, being cardinal, it's going to mean that you are going to have to work for it quite a bit. I mean, it's not going to be something that comes easy. And again, it's going to be more difficult and a bit more challenging to have, your happy ending per se, right? Now, you did ask about children. We have the children. This is a Hellenistic chart, by the way. We do have children down here. Now, children, we have this fixed sign, and the fixed sign has a malefic straight in it. So that's really odd. As far as children is concerned, you had asked about, will I have children this year? I mean, you just have this sort of a challenging issue as far as children is concerned. You have a malefic down here. Now, keep in mind that it is trined by a benefic, and it is a malefic that's not going to be in the sect, right? This is a malefic, but it's going to be not exactly terrible because it doesn't have as much power as it would have if you had this up here in a daytime chart. So it basically means that it's going to be challenging for kids. Now, one of the things that we're going to do in a second is a perfection from an annual perfection, and the annual perfection from 2018 was sitting right in here. So it kind of makes me think that in 2018 you had some type of opportunity to have kids. I mean, you had an opportunity to have kids, but with the malefic right here, it just didn't work out the way that you wanted to. And again, we have yet another situation to where the malefic is dead center in its own domicile, and it's fairly comfortable over here. And you're going to have that issue coming up as far as children's concerned. So you can obviously have children. It's just a matter of, it's just going to be a bit more challenging than what you expect. And it's going to be a bit more, you're going to have to get the correct person. And again, you had an opportunity, I think, in 2018 for children. Something happened. I think this sort of kicked in, and it didn't exactly go the way that you had planned. Again, we do have a trine here. I don't think that overcame the malefic in its own house, even though the malefic is, not within the sect that it needs to be in. So as far as family concerned, you're pretty tight with your family. I think there's some good relations at home. I think there's some good relations with the parents. Being cardinal, I think probably going to have a bit of drama here and there, but every family does. I don't think that's going to be too big of a deal. As far as family is concerned as well, that sort of links back up here, which kind of makes me think that, family, that you really want family close to your lovers. So as far as husbands are concerned, lovers concerned, long-time relationships are concerned, I think you really want that to be linked into your family. You don't want your parents to, you don't necessarily need your parents to approve, but I think it's going to be important to you for, hey, parents to meet them and things like this. It's going to be, I don't think you're that traditional. I don't think I see a lot of traditional things up here or something here or something like that. But as far as love relationships, long-term relationships are concerned, I think that you really want that to be in tune with your home as well as you want your relationships to be linked with your family and things like that. So let's move to part 2, which is going to be the fortune. So we have our fortune here. That's going to be in the 3rd house of siblings and just general communications and relationships with other people, sort of communications, and how you communicate yourself and how you like to express yourself. And that being that's sitting directly in a mutable sign sort of tells me that you find it very important as far as relationships are concerned, as far as communication is concerned, for people to be flexible. You're not going to be able to. You don't like people who are fixed and rigid in everything they do. You're not going to be able to communicate with them well. You're not going to be able to sort of jive with them well. It's going to be more of a situation where they're going to have to go with the flow. And if you have some, things you want to talk about, metaphysical or whatever, they're going to be able to do that, and they're not going to freak out and things like this. As well as if you have any siblings, you're going to have an excellent relationship with the siblings. I mean, the fortune being sitting here dead center on that sort of brings back, again, we have that sort of home-centered feel over here, and the siblings is going to be part of that. If you have any, you're going to have a good relationships with them, especially being sitting in a mutable sign. So let's see. So you have your cross here as far as that's concerned, and that's going to be, let's see, 10th. So that's going to be key, and that's going to be key. So one of the things that's going to be key, that's going to be, and not so much, but one of the things that's going to be important to you here is the ability to, the sibling thing, the communication thing. Sometimes it's going to be a bit of a challenge. This is really a crap house right over here. So sometimes it's going to be a bit of a challenge, but I think you can be able to overcome it. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. But you do have your fortune sitting in mutable signs, so that's kind of cool. So let's look at the ruler of this house. We have Mercury. It's going to be over here. And so this is sort of going to relate over here to your job situation, which we'll talk about in a minute. So you talked about that you have a lot of part-time jobs, a lot of meaningless work. So this 6th house is about meaningless work and sort of coworkers and things like this. It's kind of a crappy house that, as far as meaningless work is concerned, right? So in having the sun in here, but having the sun in here at 1 degree makes me think that if this was a little more accurate, if you weren't born in exactly 9:30, we could have a different situation over here. But let's roll with the sun over here. So that's linked to this, and this is the house, sort of a crappy house of meaningless jobs, coworkers, and things like that. And your sun, you're sort of in a rut with meaningless jobs. This is going to be where, your main source of income is and things like this. If you look over here at career, it's sort of blank, right? It's sort of blank, and if you link that, to its ruler is not exactly the best. The ruler is over here in children. So that sort of points to, if you do ever want to get a serious career, you could have a career with children. So this is going to be something, obviously, when you're older. It says you're only 29, so when you're older, I think you could have a career if you really wanted it and if you work towards it and with children. But I think, again, it's going to be a challenge. This thing is not going to be your best friend, especially with that. That being cardinal, I don't know. It's going to be a lot of work. It's not going to be, again, something that comes easy to you, just in my opinion, of course. So again, we have the ruler sitting over here of this, in the meaningless jobs. So it seems like your fortune is sort of pointing to the meaningless jobs. Or your fortune, you have a degree of bad luck in a lot of different things that you do. It's not a situation where life comes easy. You have a degree of bad luck. We have bad luck with relationships. You could have some issues occasionally with the family or something like that. You're talking about having children. You have bad luck, although we're back to 2018. We'll come back to that. But as far as that's concerned, you do have a bit of bad luck. So as far as communication, I think you're able to get along with your coworkers and people that you work with, people that you see at work, your boss and things like this. I think even though it's meaningless work, I think you're able to communicate that. You're able to learn something from it. And it's not something you want to do for the rest of your life, of course, but you're only 29, so whatever. But again, we're looking at sort of that meaningless work, and that's where your heart is, unfortunately, for now. But having good communications with that and having this linked into the fortune sort of gives you a degree of luck as far as finding the job, as far as getting cash and things like this, even though it's meaningless work. Lord of the hour marker. So domicile Lord of the hour marker, we're talking Cancer and Moon. So we have these two things closely linked. Now, your rising sign of, or your ascendant part of Cancer does sort of point you towards a family individual. And we see that over here in the fourth house. We see that family individual, that sort of loving family individual here. Your sun sign being in Sagittarius means that you're moving around. You're moving around. You like to not sit still. You maybe like to be out in the sun. You like to go get things. You don't like things just to come to you. You have to go get it in many respects as part of your sun sign. Again, I'm kind of wondering how accurate that is from the being that close to the cusp, but whatever. So let's look at the domicile ruler of the hour marker. I believe it's that. Yeah, domicile ruler of the hour marker, which is going to be over here, again, in the first house, meaning your sense of self. So your sense of self is going to be strong. You know who you are. You know what you want. You know you have your goals, even though you're going to have conflicts with some of those goals, especially with love relationships, maybe with children. I think overall you're going to be able to express yourself as to what you want and how you want it. And the ruler being over here in the fourth house means family. So you're going to be, again, closely knit to your family, closely linked to your family. It's going to be important to you, even part of the family being from your loved one, your husband, your intimate one, and also going to be children. I think family is going to be very important to you, especially with this linkage over here and over there. So that's pretty much what I see in the base chart. Let's move on to 2019, which is sitting here, unfortunately, in a crappy house. So 2019 pretty much is the temporary job, meaningless work type things. And that's not going to be great. And this is the annual perfections, by the way. So 2019 is not going to be the best. 2020, I think, is going to be your real key to finding love, to finding some of this. 2020 is going to be your time to sort of get rid of that pesky Saturn, to sort of get rid of that and really focus on your benefic right here. 2020, I think it's going to be an excellent year for love. I think your love relationships are going to take a huge turn upward in 2020, and we'll look at a better forecast in a minute. But I think overall that's going to be a fantastic time for you compared to 2019, especially with what I see there. So let's look at any relationships. Let's go for 2019 as far as transits are concerned. So the only thing that I see that would be noteworthy, where is that? The only thing that I see that would be noteworthy would be this retrograde here. So July 6th, you kind of really want to watch your love relationships, especially with this. That being in retrograde, you kind of want to watch what you say, kind of want to watch what you do. I would not make any huge decisions on July 6th. It just doesn't look good at all to me. Just my personal opinion, though. My personal opinion. So we have the strongest relationship here, which in this is going to be this. And this is going to be April 13th, 2020. April 13th, 2020, I think it's going to be a big deal for you. I think that's going to be something nice, something that you look forward to, April 13th, 2020. And that sort of jives with 2020 being the annual perfection where your relationships are really going to take a turn for the better, just my opinion. So let's talk about peaks and valleys. So basically you have three things. You have a climb, and then you have a peak, and then you have a decline, sort of like climbing a mountain and coming down on the other side, right? So you definitely want to watch for these, and as you move through zodiacal releasing, these are related to your lot of fortune, which I'm circling here. And if you go across with all the other mutable signs, you'll notice that they're all sort of bluish purple, kind of. Anyway, so if you'll notice on your particular dates, these are dates that are important to you, or dates that make a difference, right? Not only a peak period, but also major events in your life will happen on these dates. And so with zodiacal releasing, you can get a good idea of when these come. Now you'll notice there's a big date coming on 8/18/2019, and that is going to last until 9/17. And somewhere in between there, you have a big event coming, and this is related again to the mutable sign, which is over here. Yeah, it's not the best one, the fourth house, but yeah, so that's something's going to happen. You definitely have a big period in your life. Now you'll notice that you had a change in your life around 2007. So when you were 18-ish, something happened. So around 2007, something happened. Early 2007, it says March. So March, April 2007, you had a big change in your life, and that's an LB, a loosing of the bond. So you want to watch for that. You have another one of those coming up. You have one in 2031, but that's so far away, who cares? So let's look at the other ones in a minute. Now you'll notice you have another peak period coming in Pisces in 2025, but again, so far away. Let's go to the right-hand column here and look at the big events coming soon. All right, so now we have a sort of a peak period coming over here when you hit Pisces, and when we hit Pisces, that's going to be 2/7/2020. We'll talk about that. But you have a loosing of the bond coming in January 6th, and I said that 2020 is going to be a better year for you, and it looks like that something's going to happen, maybe with the relationships, maybe something is turning over at January of 2020. So look for a turnover, look for a big event, some change in how you treat things, some change in your life in January of 2020. That's going to be big, and but you have even a larger one coming soon, which I'm kind of excited about as well. So let's talk about those coming up here. So now again, we have the lot of fortune, which is located here. And right across from it is going to be your Pisces, and then across from those, making a square, is going to be your other mutable signs. So those are going to be important in that regard. So now you do have, again, that climb. You get that climb coming right before we hit the lot of fortune, and then you have your peak period. That's going to be your best time to have a new relationship, get a new job. It's going to be your best time for everything. Your peak period is going to be huge, especially once you get out of this 2019 rut that you've sort of been in, where you have all this, weird things happening as well. So let's look back at the peak period coming up. So here I'm pointing to back in your 2007, you had a big transition in your life, a big change in your life, and this could, especially a level 1, something big happened. Level 1? Yeah, something big happened. You got another one coming in 2031, but long way away. But something happened. Kind of curious. Put in the comments what happened around 2007. So I think you were 18. I think a calendar won't pull up properly. Something with the Mac. The minute I hook up the pen to the Mac, it doesn't do it right. So again, 8/18, you have a peak period and you have something major happening. So look for 8/18 to 9/17. It's going to be cool. Now you're going to have a decline right after that. So decline is not going to be your best time. It's not going to be a great time for a whole lot of anything. And this is level 1. So these are big parts of your life. So the decline is not the best time to start huge projects or get married or something like that. It's not going to be like your primary time. Your primary time is going to be, something's going to happen 8/18 to 9/17. But again, that's your peak period. So we have a few more peak periods coming. We'll discuss those in just a minute while I wander around the chart and look at your Pisces, which is going to be another peak period. Again, that's so far off, 2025. But again, these are big parts of your life at this point. So let's drill down, right? Let's get you some actual dates here. Get you some actual dates. What do we got? Here we go with the... Can't even read this. I think that's the decline, isn't it? Yeah, it's right after that. It's going to be your decline period. Now you're going to have your ramp-up period. It's coming next. And your ramp-up period is going to be over there about 11/24. And that's going to correspond again by your 2020 date. It's going to be a lot better. Your 2020 dates are going to be a lot better. You're not going to have as many problems, as many challenges and things like that within your 2020 scope, right? So January 2020, again, loosening of the bond. Going to have something big transition. You're going to have something interesting happen. Definitely not going to be a boring piece of your life. Again, January 6th, we sort of transition into that Pisces period. We got sort of that preview of something big coming. So again, 2020. I think you're going to be excited in 2020. I think things are going to turn around, especially since you're going to be over at that new annual perfections of the 7th house, or the 7th place, as they call it. Again, sort of ignore. I think that's going to be after your 8/18. After your 8/18, next one's going to be January, right? January 6th. See what's going to happen there. So let's look at February. So February 7th. February 7th is going to be a peak period, and that's going to be a great time. And again, I think you're going to have a new relationship. I'll be honest with you. I think something's going to happen where you're going to have like something big, some big relationship. 2/7, like I think it's going to start. Maybe that's what they're talking about right here, right? You talk about that 1/6/2020. Maybe that new relationship hits. Maybe that loosening of the bond, something changes. Around 2/7, everything's going to be going good. You're going to have another peak period. I think maybe you're talking about a long-term relationship there. Something happens. Maybe your career picks up a bit, right? So the 8/18, not really sure what's going to happen, but could be related to your job. It could be related to getting out of some of that crap that you've sort of been stuck in with your job. It could be the time that your sun comes out and really starts shining. But your next peak period is going to be 5/4/2020. And again, we have a few more months. So it's a natural progression, right? It's that triplet, the triplet of the climbing up the mountain. You have your peak period and then climbing down the mountain. And note, you're going to be climbing down your mountain right dead center at your ascendant. So right over here, you're going to hit your ascendant. Now don't be too worried about it, because I think because you're hitting your ascendant, because Jupiter's sitting there, right there, even though Jupiter's not, even though Jupiter's, is contrary to the sect, it's still a benefic, and I think that's going to represent a big point in your life. I think maybe that's when you get married to the new guy that you met, or you have some big love, maybe you have a new love. I think right there is going to be your time to shine, because that benefic is sitting right there. There's Jupiter. Jupiter just makes everything better. Maybe you get a little money coming in, right? You're coming back in. You're coming back into your shine period, the time to shine, where your family is going to be important to you. Maybe you'll be, you wanted to get pregnant, you want to have kids. This is a big time. June 23rd is a big time for you, and I think that could be, I'm going to go out on a limb here. That's my style. I think June 23rd is either when you'll be pregnant, or you have some news about it. I'm going out on a limb. I'm going way out on a limb, because your next period that comes around the 5th house of children is quite some time away. But I really think June 23rd is going to be your day. It's going to be your date. It's going to be the big one. It's going to be the big one. I think this is going to be the one to end them all. This is going to be a fantastic period for you. I really think you're going to be shining on June 23rd during that month. So let us all know. Basically, that is the end of the reading. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like a reading of your own, please send me your birth date with time. Time is critical. Please send me an accurate time. If you can call mom, get a birth time, get your birth certificate, get a birth time, and then I need to know your birth location. So your birth location is going to be important. And if you can give me your city, state that you're in now, so we can do transits with the annual perfections, that would be fantastic as well, because that's going to give me an accurate look at where the stars are and the transits part. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and please hit like and subscribe.